Okay, folks, so today we're talking about evidence for evolution. Basically, the whole idea of animals and well, not animals themselves, populations of animals and plants changing over time due to forces like we talked about last time, like natural selection. The more fit an organism is for its environment, the more likely it is to survive and to reproduce. And that sort of leads us down this path of populations change, right? Which is all evolution is. It's just the idea that populations change, usually over time. So an example, pesticides are used to kill harmful insects. When a pesticide is first used, it kills almost all of the insects, but a few have traits that protect them from the pesticide. These insects survive and reproduce, so their offspring then get that trait that allows them to survive the pesticides. Eventually, then, the majority of the insect population is no longer affected by the pesticide because most of them have that trait that makes them immune to that pesticide. This shows a change in population over time, which is what we call evolution. So, then, how do we prove that? Well, first we move my face. There we go. We prove that first by looking at fossils. So fossils are the remains of organisms that lived a long time ago. They can also be the traces of organisms that lived a long time ago, like footprints or leaf pressings into mud or something like that. So they can be remains, but they can also be traces. They show a pattern of early development and similar body structures to current organisms. This is how we show that plants and animals have changed over time, because we can look at them and go, oh, these look very similar to what we have now, but they're not the same. And so that's one piece of evidence. Another one might be early development. So this one's a little harder to sort of wrap your brain around. So basically, scientists can also make inferences about evolutionary relationships by comparing the early development of organisms. So if you look at the very earliest pieces here, you can see that they all sort of look similar. Get the idea, right? They have gill slits, they have tails, and then as they develop, they separate out and become more and more unique, right? So that's an early development idea. And this is a little bit controversial, but for the most part, most scientists believe that that leads us to think that there had to have been a common ancestor between many of these organisms because that early development is so similar. Which brings us to homologous structures, which is similar body structures. So notice these structures, let me move my face again. Whoops, back. These structures, basically the humerus is this blue, and notice each one of these, the human, the cat, and the whale all have them. A radius, all have them. The ulna, each of them has an ulna. The carpals, you're getting the idea that while they're in different places and they look different, they have the exact same purpose. And so this is what a lot of scientists use as another piece of evidence. So this would be homologous structures. So these structures provide evidence that these organisms all evolved from a common ancestor. Similar structures that related species share are called homologous structures. Homologous just basically means shared structures. So the fact that these different species all have shared structures is another piece of evidence for evolution. And finally, DNA similarities. So scientists have actually, let me move me again here so you can see. Scientists have actually gone through and looked at the DNA of different species of animals to see how closely matched their DNA sequences are. The more amino acid differences in those proteins of them, then the more related they are. So the closer their DNA strands, the more related they are, is the idea. And so number of amino acid differences between hemoglobin of vertebrate species and that of humans. So notice there's 125 differences between a lamprey and a person. That means we are not much related to them. Meaning, if we had a common ancestor, it would have been, back more than 65 million years ago kind of thing. Frogs, we actually share about 67 amino acid differences between us and frogs. Still a lot, right? And notice birds are a little bit less, dogs are a little bit less, and macaques are quite a bit less. There are only 8 amino acid differences in their DNA sequence than us, meaning that way back in time, we might have had way down here at the 120 million year ago line, there might have been a common ancestor way back here. And that this common ancestor might have been somewhere like 10 million years ago or something like that. But the point is that's another piece of evidence that we use to show how populations have changed over time. Scientists have combined the evidence from DNA, protein structures, fossils, early development, and body structures to determine evolutionary relationships. So basically they can tell how related 2 species are to each other in millions and millions of years time frame. Okay, folks, so I hope that helps you with that whole evidence for the changing of populations over time, and we'll see you in the next video.